Hello creatives, I'm back and today I'm talking about how and where I network. So if you follow me for a little bit, you know that I am a really big proponent of networking. I love networking. I have quite a few videos on it, but I realized that I've never talked about like the story of how I started networking in New York City. So, and like where I network and what personally it has done for me. I've talked about it more in general, like best practices and stuff like that. So I'll link some of those videos below, and they might pop up periodically up here. So just to start from the beginning, kind of, I moved to New York City last May, and coming from small town Illinois, I knew that if I didn't find people to connect with on a professional and personal level, I would not thrive in this city. And I knew that I really wanted to pivot into more creative type of work, because right now I am a marketing strategist. I handle clients in the e-commerce space, and I work at an agency, and so it's very different type of work than the type of work that I want to do, which is publishing, media, entertainment, that sort of thing. So I knew that I wanted to pivot into that space. I'm currently in e-commerce, and while it pays the bills and takes care of the bulk of my financial needs, it does not necessarily fulfill me, which I think a lot of people can relate to that, in that their day job is not something that they find fulfilling. So when I first moved to New York City, and knowing that I have this book that I want to adapt into a script and do something with, I started looking at networking groups for filmmakers, and I found the New York City Women Filmmakers Network. I'll put a link down below, on Instagram of all places. And I'm like, you know what, let's do it. $60 a year, and I get access to a library of webinar archives, and I get an opportunity to meet people in the city who are interested in doing the things that I want to do. They're more than just like New York City based. Like, I'll add that caveat to it. Like, they have people who are across the country and across the world, so it's not just New York City. So it's a network. It's kind of like a forum, several different forums going on at once, and there's a job board and all this kind of stuff. And I was like, I need a mentor. Like, I need to find someone who has been where I'm at, who is positioned where I think I'm going to end up being in the next several years. And doing a bunch of research, and there was one woman who kind of stuck out to me, and I'm like, I'm going to ask her to get coffee and like just ask her, what her story is and how she got to where she was. So I reached out to her, asked her to do a virtual coffee chat, and just 30 minutes. And I like put a time on it. Hey, I see myself walking in your shoes, later in life. Like, can you just meet up for a coffee chat? I would love to talk through like what your journey was like. And so we talked this was now July, and we talked for a little bit, and then we talked again, and then a third time, and then she introduced me to other people in the network, and it just kind of snowballed from there. And by taking that leap of faith that first time, it created a snowball effect, like a domino effect, where I have now met with several, like I think at this point, 6 or 7 different people within the network. I've met them in person, I've met them virtually, I've gotten coffee, I've gotten lunch or whatever with them, and it's been really, really life-giving, because not just because I'm interested in what they're doing and learning from their creative journey, but they're also very interested in mine, even though right now I'm just writing a book. Well, not just writing a book, that's a big deal, but they're very interested in giving as much advice they can to me, because they're like, this is cool what you're doing, and they also recognize that you have a marketing background, which means that you will be successful in certain areas of this journey, because you have a business acumen that a lot of creatives don't necessarily have, which is something I'm very passionate about. I understand that it is hard for people to be both creative and business minded, and I want to bridge that gap and really serve that gap there. So yeah, and so now I have a community of creative people that are in the niche that I am hoping to pivot into eventually, and are also very supportive of the creative projects that I'm working with, and I want to do what I can to support their creative projects when the time comes and they need someone to help with the marketing aspect of things. It's a mutually beneficial relationship. So, which is networking should be it should be approached with the mindset of building lifelong relationships with people in your industry. It may be even adjacent to your industry. So yeah, that's just my little story of how and where I network. I also am a part of an online freelancing network called the Freelance Friday Club by this really cool woman based in Detroit, and she's I really appreciate her. She has a very different perspective on how to build a sustainable online business. And so on the business side of things, being in her networking group has been really helpful in understanding the foundations that I need to move my freelancing into more of a full-time gig, the foundations that I need. And I have spent a lot of time building up those good foundations. That way when things pick up, which I feel will happen relatively soon, again, it's a relative term, but when I do start getting more steady freelance work, I feel like I am positioned for success in being able to take the freelancing to more of a full-time role when that happens, because of the Freelance Friday Club and the things that I've learned there about creating something sustainable, something long-lasting in terms of your side hustle that you have the goal of turning into a full-time job. And so, yeah, and that's been a really cool group to be with, because it's global. I've chatted with people in Europe and in India, and as well as other people in the United States, and there's so many different freelancers and people who own different types of businesses, social media management, graphic design, website development, a whole bunch of stuff in that content creation, marketing type of space, as well as others. Some people are not even in the marketing space at all. They have very different business models, and it's really cool to learn from them, because there's not one way to do business. You just have to figure out how to make the pieces work for you, and to do that you have to learn from other people who are in drastically different places and spaces than you. But yeah, so that is in a nutshell what what my journey has been in terms of networking, and like how and where I network, and like the things that I personally have gained from it. Not just in terms of like I've talked about like more tangible professional stuff, but on a personal level, like both of the networking groups that I'm in have been very life-giving, because the people are kind, the people are very supportive, collaborative, and like, I mean, it's hard to do business alone. So it's nice to have a couple different communities, one a little bit more general and one a little bit more niche, to interact with and fall back on, for that support and for that community that is needed. So yeah, if you have any questions, let me know. I'm more than happy to go into more detail or like answer any pressing questions you may have about how to find networking, or that sort of thing. Yeah, so with that said, until next time.